best businesses, whether those are real estate brokerages or teams or software companies, are built through periods like this. How do you generate more high quality leads? Any professionalized real estate team or brokerage needs a tech stack that enables their agents to do the high value work. The single biggest missed opportunity has been the existing database. And I don't know where the next great product's going to come from, but what I do know is that we want to be able to integrate. Your website, if built out the right way and structured appropriately, becomes a sustainable competitive advantage, right? It's not just about standing up a flashy homepage and piping IDX feeds to it.
All right, I've got Peter Maglathlin with me, who's the CEO of Sierra Interactive. You may or may not have heard about it. We'll get into what Sierra does. I think a lot more people have been hearing about Sierra lately, been around a long time. But your background is in software.
Correct.
But not necessarily in real estate. So give me a little bit, 30,000 foot view of your background in software and why that puts you in a good position to lead Sierra Interactive, CRM and IDX feed site.
Yeah. So prior to joining Sierra as CEO about 18 months ago, I spent the prior 10 years of my career starting, building, and scaling two different venture-backed technology businesses, one in the talent management space, the other in construction tech. So there's no better way to learn about business and building than through entrepreneurship. I mean, it's really freaking hard. And a lot of what you learn is through failing. But built both of those businesses to reasonable scale. And about the reason I made a career shift was primarily for personal reasons. My wife and I already had 2 kids. Then she got pregnant with twins. So I took a step back and thought, all right.
2 to 4.
2 to 4 overnight. I took a step back and thought, all right, I love leading and scaling technology businesses. I feel like I'm pretty good at it, but I could see the writing on the wall in the venture-backed space. Rates were already on their way up. This growth at all costs without any semblance of profitability, that dynamic was shifting. And going from 2 to 4 kids, I also wanted to move to a business that didn't require a capital raise every 18 months. So that led me to move into private equity. And so I joined a business called Alpine Software Group that invests exclusively in what they call vertical SaaS. So platform businesses that are exclusively focused on singular customer archetypes, like real estate agents. And ASG partnered with Sierra a couple months after I joined ASG. And I just got lucky. I got tapped to run that business, come in and partner with Ben Pesco, our founder, for a period of a year before he rolled off. And I've been a consumer of real estate for the last several years. I've bought and sold a couple homes. I'm actually going through that process now, which is something we can talk about.
I definitely want to get into that.
And so, Ben had built a phenomenal foundation. This is obviously a huge market, a dynamic one that's going through insane change right now. And so I think that 10-year period leading venture-backed businesses got me really comfortable with fast-moving, hyper-changing industries. Got me really comfortable with scaling and leading teams. And I've been able to apply a lot of those lessons to a new industry and learn, frankly, right? A lot of my last 18 months has really been about learning from customers, learning from our team, learning from people like you. And this is an exciting, while somewhat stressful time to be in this space, right? But I think the best businesses, whether those are real estate brokerages or teams or software companies, are built through periods like this, right? If you look at regardless of the industry, times of disruption are when great businesses emerge. And I think this is like that time for this space. And I feel like we're positioned really well.
The agents of change, the businesses of change are going to be able to capitalize on all of everything that's going on. Sierra is not a new company. No. It's a company that's been around, what, 10 10
About
years?
15 years now.
15 years,
Yeah.
right? And so been around, but one that's maybe uniquely positioned to be a business of change for a variety of different reasons, the competitive landscape, some of the fallout. When you look at moving forward, what's it for an agent perspective, brokerage perspective, team leader perspective, and you want to be that agent of change, you want to be the person that's progressive moving forward. But what does that tool belt look like? What does the tech stack look like for somebody who's like, I want to be on the forefront of all the change, be able to capitalize on it?
It's a really good question. It's something we could probably spend multiple hours talking about, but I'll try to be somewhat concise. I think that any professionalized real estate team or brokerage needs a tech stack that enables their agents to do the high value work, right? At the end of the day, agents are great at advising clients, displaying local market knowledge, and helping people buy and sell homes, right? That's what a CRM is meant to do, right? But it can only do it if it actually is built with that end game in mind, which is how do we take the rote work out of the agent's daily life and position them to engage with leads and engage with consumers, get into living rooms, and allow the technology to actually support them in an automated fashion. So our technology is a combination of IDX websites and CRM, right? There are a bunch of competitive offerings that look similar from a components perspective. I think where we win is that our business was built on IDX websites first. Our founder was one of the first people ever to start building IDX websites. And so we built 450, I think nearly 500 IDX feeds over the course of the last 5 to 7 years. And that direct data pipe leads to far better performance for our sites, and lends itself really well to both organic traffic and PPC conversion. So that's top of funnel, right? We've got that piece figured out, right?
That's top of funnel, and that is a product that you solve for.
Yep.
But now what else do I need? People listening to this right now have 10, 15, 20, 25 logins of a variety of different logins for whatever you may call it a stack or an accumulation of tech, however you want to call it. It may not actually be a tech stack. Everything's speaking to each other. What else fits into that for an agent to really be capitalizing on the next 10 years, not the last 10?
Yep. So I'll break it down into a few core components. The first is, which I was just kind of talking about, is lead gen, right? How do you generate more high quality leads? Not just leads, but like qualified high quality leads.
Yeah. Because there's 200 million plus online generated every year.
And the last 10 years has been dominated by paying for leads, right? Whether that's via Google PPC, whether that's via Zillow, and there's no inherent problem with that, right? But I think where the industry is going, and I think some of the fallout from the commissions lawsuits, which I'm sure we'll talk about, is highlighting, is that the most sustainable way to build a high-performing real estate business is actually by building an online presence and brand that generates reliable organic traffic via high-quality content and a real strategy around what you're putting out there, right? Sure, the colors need to look good and it needs to be maybe flashy or not, depending on your brand, but it's all about displaying deep expertise in communities, displaying deep expertise in the transaction process, and displaying like a deep bench of agents such that when someone comes to you, they know they're working with a team and not just one person. So lead gen in the form of organic traffic, I think, is going to have a bit of a reemergence in a world where maybe buyer leads aren't going to be worth as much. Maybe the willingness to pay for those isn't going to be as high. But local market knowledge has always been the real estate's calling card. So how do you display that on a website to generate those eyeballs and qualify those leads?
I would call that knowledge broker stuff.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Right. And I think agents have taken and it's unfair, they've gotten a bad rap over the last 12 months. Ultimately, these folks are the community experts, and the ones that win understand their local market in a way that others don't. But I think the key thing that's been missing is that we haven't done a good enough job communicating that, right? Like most of these agents are really, really knowledgeable, but the gap that needs to be bridged is how do we bring that to the forefront in a way that the consumer can appreciate and understand. So lead gen. Point two is like once you're flowing leads into your database, how do you nurture them in an automated fashion such that once they become hand raisers, the agents can get involved, right? And there are a couple components here. The first is what I'd call automations, and this is one of our differentiators in the market. So we have, seller lead workflows, buyer lead workflows. So when a lead flows through, they might not necessarily be ready for a phone call, and that's okay. So set them up in a nurture program such that they're hearing from you on a predetermined cadence. It's knowledge oriented, right? It's not, hey, are you looking to buy or sell a home? It's, hey, I saw you looking at this property. Here's a bunch of information and data that could help you purchase or sell it within that community.
That one right there, I think is, with our ISA team, with the Connecticut team, that has been the biggest game changer the last 12 months is who's looking at what, how can we reach out to them with value about that search? Because you'll see if you've got leads in your system, and everybody, most people listening have leads, right? But you can actually see, okay, they stopped viewing 9 months ago. Now all of a sudden they're viewing again. They're looking at things again, right? There's a 9-month gap. Well, that's an opportunity to reach out, right? If you reach out with, are you still thinking about buying or selling 9 times in those 9 months? Well, they're not showing you that they are because they're not looking at anything. Then they start looking. You're not going to reach out with that. You're going to reach out, like you said, with some value that supports that experience about what they're looking at. Maybe it's a couple of comparables. Maybe it's some sales. Maybe it's some market data. Maybe it's some insider information about the property. Hey, by the way, so you're looking at 123 Main Street. I've toured it a couple times. Here are a couple things I like. Here are a couple things I don't like. Just want to pass that along to you. Right? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that there's a right point in the consumer's journey to sell, and if you try to do that too early, a lot of times you alienate the consumer, right? And so prove your value and your knowledge through what we call nurturing leads through knowledge, such that by the time they get to the point when they're ready, you're going to know they're ready and that you're going to be the one they call, right? And so that's a key piece. I'd say the second piece is what we're calling like data enrichment. And so a lot of what we see in our customer base, we have 2,600 customers, tens of thousands of agents using our system. And so we have a lot of insight into many things happening in the industry. But one of the key things that needs to be solved for is the data quality within our customers' databases, right? So you might have 30,000 leads, but if you don't have the required data associated with those leads to be able to act on those leads in a knowledge-oriented, natural way.
What should agents be thinking about when they have a lead or a customer?
Yeah.
What required data should an agent be collecting from a customer or a lead?
Yeah. So you should know if they're a homeowner or not. And if they are a homeowner, what their address is, because that allows you to engage them in a conversation that is so much more action-oriented than if you didn't have that information, right? You can be talking about home value. You could, give them a cash offer. So I'd say that's point one. And then there's all sorts of publicly available data sets to understand life events and things about people that lead to a buy or sale of a home, right? Whether that's, a childbirth, whether that's a job change, whether that's, a divorce, unfortunately. There's a lot of data sources we're starting to pull from to enrich our customers' databases such that they can farm their existing leads and not just go out and pay for new ones. Because I think, hey, generating new leads is always going to be important, but I think it became too high a priority in the industry over the last 5 years. And the single biggest missed opportunity has been the existing database, right? And so a combination of automated but knowledge-oriented interactions paired with data that informs those interactions is how you're going to generate listings, right? In this post-NAR settlement world, hey, listings have always been king, right? Like the best agents generate listings, the best brokerages, the best teams.
That won't change.
But this data is what's needed to generate those listings, because a listing lead lifecycle is years, right? It takes time to work and nurture that lead. But if you have 10, 15,000 leads in your database, a certain percentage of those folks are going to be selling their house every single month. You need to have the data to know who is selling and when, such that you're that first call. And then there's the power of AI, right? And so I'm not going to pretend to be like the world's expert in AI, but I have done a lot of thinking about what the best applications of AI are in this industry. And there are several, and there's a lot of people doing really cool stuff around Sierra in our ecosystem. And that's really what we're trying to capitalize on. Hey, we're going to build some of our own internal tools, but I think the way we're going to be able to bring stuff to market most quickly is by partnering with the domain experts out there and creating native experiences in our technology. So a couple examples. We have our own product called Sierra AI, which we're relaunching and repricing later this quarter. That's built on a product called Structurally. That allows a really, really smart chatbot to, when a buyer or seller lead comes in, engage with that lead based on a very robust large language model.
So like an ISA introduction.
Yeah. And that's nothing new. I'd say what's happening elsewhere is much more cool, which is, so I don't know if you know Justin Benson at Barra Agency. They've become a close partner of ours. He actually lives out here. I played golf with him earlier today.
I don't know. I was busy, but I would have. Yeah, I would have come and played.
Well, we're gonna play soon.
Yes.
But a plug for him. I mean, he's effectively like an outsourced CTO for some of the biggest, highest performing teams in the country, and so understanding what he's doing is critical to informing our product roadmap. He's actually developed a product called Shiloh, which listens to agent calls, provides a grade, a synopsis, and like very, very distilled coaching in real time that sales managers can use and do at scale, right? So imagine being able to not need to watch a Gong video for 45 minutes and have artificial intelligence give you effectively a one-page write-up on a call, areas for improvement you can work on that agent with, and very distilled information around were next steps established. Is this person likely to use that agent as they move forward in their home or their buy or sale process, et cetera? So that's another application. I think ultimately, like the future of the CRM, and sorry, I'm rambling here, but I'll stop in a minute.
No.
The future of the CRM is not more robust and more features. It's actually, I think, streamlined and smarter, right? And that's where AI comes in, right? Like our CRM is powerful and super robust. But I'd say for a lot of agents, maybe it's a little bit too complicated. Mm-hmm. And how do we layer in intelligence to actually streamline the feature set and make it more agent friendly?
And this is where I think AI is going to have its biggest impact on not only this industry, but all industries. I'm no expert at all in AI, but moving forward over the next number of years, I think on the back end of businesses, like what you're describing here, AI is going to have a significant impact. You mentioned earlier in the pod, hey, I'm going through a home buying process right now. Like, as you're going through it as a consumer, do you see any, product market fit for AI for your consumer experience right now? Like, would AI, anything that exists today or is going to exist in the near future, is there anything AI related that would make your consumer experience better? Or do you agree with what I think? It's going to be a lot of just back end making the professionals easier in the near future.
So I agree with you. I think it's the latter. Ultimately, so we at Sierra, I say this all the time, we're in the agent enablement business. And I think AI is going to be one of the biggest agent enablers that's come around in the last 20 years for the folks that take it seriously and actually learn it. And what I mean by that is, like, if you apply AI right, so as a home seller and buyer right now, as a home seller, what I care most about is, can my agent generate enough foot traffic, enough lead volume, enough interest in my home for me to get the price I feel I deserve, right? The best way to do that is through a great technology stack that enables you to engage with leads in a authentic but automated way. Because if you're doing it all manual, you're just never going to get to the volume that's required to create the type of activity, top, middle, and bottom of funnel to get there. And so I don't really see it impacting the consumer experience that much, but the way it does impact the consumer experience is it makes my agent better, right?
Making the agent better.
And the agent's going to be able to generate more offers. And
there's nothing, as you're going through your experience, are you on the buying or the selling side?
So we've already bought, we're selling now.
You're selling now. So you've bought recently, you're selling. There's nothing on the consumer side where you're like, boy, I wish I had access to this tool as the consumer. And I don't know if your agent will be watching this, but
I'll send it to him.
Send it to your agent. What's your experience been with the agent,
Yeah.
pros and cons. I'd love to know on the buy side in particular.
Yeah.
Were you fully, was it fully transparent about the agent commission? Where do you sit on that from a consumer hat? Like, take your industry hat off for a minute.
Yeah,
and
no,
walk me through that.
this is going to be a fun conversation because I've actually loved the fact that I'm going through this amidst all of what's happening. So full disclosure, my agent is one of my good friends. He's a neighbor of mine. He is his kids are friends with my kids. There's just a real high level of trust there.
Can we give him a shout out? Congratulations on getting the listing.
Yeah,
Nothing worse
Todd
than
Anslavar.
Todd, nothing worse than your neighbor selling with somebody else. So shout out to Todd for getting the listing.
Yeah, and so Todd and I sat down for dinner. So I have more insight into this industry than obviously most people going through this.
Yeah.
I speak with agents every single day. And so Todd and I sat down at dinner to discuss the listing agreement. And he said, hey, we have multiple options here with respect to how we're going to do commissions, right? But here's my point of view, which is we're going to 5% is what is going equally shared between listing agent and buyer's agent is what's going to generate the most amount of foot traffic, is going to get the highest number of agents' attention, is going to enable you and your wife to sell within the contracted time period, which is small because I have 4 kids that we need to sell it in, right? And knowing what I know about the industry, I 100% believe that's true. And that's why I believe that with the NAR settlement, that yes, there's going to be change, but ultimately buyer agency is a durable, valuable service if communicated well. And that the conversation with the seller is equally important in managing through this as the buyer agent is having with the buyer. What I mean by that is, like, the seller needs to be informed as to what the implications are of compressed commissions and how that might negatively impact their experience as a seller, right? And I think it's fundamentally underappreciated how much. I think it's well appreciated on the listing side how much agents do, because there's just so much that goes into it. Yeah. But I think it's really underappreciated how much the buyer agent does through that process, right? Realtor produce something that I was thinking like the 111 things a buyer agent like you need to do in order to buy a home or something like that. And I'm going through that right now, right? And then they put or just hire a
buyer.
And I feel like I'm a relatively smart, capable guy. I would never do this myself, ever. Like, number one, I don't have the time, but number two, I'm not the domain expert. And so looping back to your question around, like, is there a piece of technology that I think could have made my experience better? I actually do. And I think that I'll call it transaction management, but I think like the workflow management software in real estate isn't good enough yet, right? Yeah. And so why isn't there a portal through which I'm communicating with my agent, my attorney, insurance, movers, right? Like there's so many people at play in a real estate transaction, and it's all being done through email, maybe some Google Sheets. This is a solvable problem in software.
You should watch the pod I did with Sheila Reddy, who's CEO of Mosaic.io.
Yeah.
You guys should get connected.
Yeah.
This is the problem that she's so passionate about.
Yeah.
It's funny because this problem has been claimed by a lot of software people to be solved already because we have e-signature.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I had a conversation with Spencer Raskoff back 2 years ago when we launched it. Spencer's point is, transaction, some aspects have been solved, e-signature, some of the table stake stuff. But there's still a long way to go on it. And I think that experience from a consumer of just being able to see the workflow, knowing the next step before it comes is still out there. I know Sheila's working at it with Mosaic.
And there's some good products out there like, Open to Close and Sisu.
Yeah, Open to Close and I'm working on that problem.
And there are some good businesses out there. I just think it's an underappreciated part of the software ecosystem here. And as a consumer, it really impacts my experience.
Is that a problem that a CRM company should solve, or should it be bolted onto your tech stack?
Yep.
And should CRM companies not touch that problem? And have an open integration so they can bolt on?
Yep.
Or should they solve that problem?
It's a really good question. And so a lot of what I spend my time thinking about at Sierra is our product strategy and like where where are we going to invest to win, right? I think that the more diluted your strategy becomes, the more you're trying to become everything to everyone, the worse your outcome likely is. And so what I mean by that is like our core areas of strength where we already have an established right to win and where there are huge markets are IDX websites and CRM, right? There's some reason to believe that we should build out this transaction management software, but that's going to preclude us from creating the next gen CRM and the next gen website that we need to invest in and focus on in order to support and help our customers win. And so Sierra years ago actually spec'd out what it would take to build this. It's not simple. It's not trivial if you're going to do it well. And so like core to our product strategy is invest in our core and become the central node of the ecosystem. I think I have a lot of respect for Follow Up Boss, even though we directly compete with them. Great product. Dan's a great guy.
I would say you compete on the CRM side, but obviously
different offering, but
they don't have the IDX offering. And so there are a number of customers who are using both.
Yeah, but what Dan and Follow Up Boss proved, and this is a playbook that a lot of other CRMs in other industries utilized, is open architecture and a really great API enables you to become like the central node of the ecosystem. And that's really how you create a game-changing, sticky, and really useful product that also allows customers to have choice around it, right? And so like we want to partner with the best transaction management businesses in the world. We want to enable them to integrate such that the right data flows between the two systems and we create a shared product experience that's really good. But I'm not going to pound the table and say we're going to be able to build a better system than folks that are focusing exclusively on that. Because I think that's egotistical.
What are the software community, which you're part of, been a part of for a long time? When I meet, when I sit with Dan, Follow Up Boss, founder, CEO, I'm like, dude, this guy's he's just got to be so much smarter than me. He's just like so calm, confident. Totally. He knows his stuff in the software respect. How is he viewed from, the software community? Is he like the guy or do you guys look at him as a peer or do you guys look at him as like, man, this guy's somebody who's, just accomplished, obviously the number he accomplished with Zillow is crazy, but how do you view him?
Yeah. So I view Dan as a peer, but I admire him is what I would say. Right. I think what Dan has done over the last 10 years has been nothing short of amazing. Right.
Yeah.
And he's also done it in a way that he didn't create a lot of enemies. He did it like with grace, and he's fundamentally like a kind of an even keeled, cool dude.
He is
right.
Super calm.
And like we were talking about earlier, yes, our product offering's different, but in some ways we compete. We also integrate with each other.
Yes.
Right. And so like this doesn't need to be like enemies fighting against against each other in the software industry. There's a way for more cohesion, and I think FUB proved that.
I think when folks that are listening to this, agents that are listening to this right now, when you're looking at any software and there's a lack of integrations, to me that'd be a red flag.
Totally.
And so you should maybe ask questions. Why? Where in the process are you on these integrations? Are they on the roadmap? Are you thinking about these integrations? These are questions I would ask anytime you're looking at software, because I believe if you're going to have an appropriate tech stack, you're going to be able to talk to this more than I am, but you got to have those integrations working.
Yeah, when you think about a CRM, I mean, the CRM is the system of record and is meant to be the kind of the foundation of the tech stack, right? Mm-hmm. But in order for it to become even more powerful, it has to pipe into really cool new gen lead gen tools, right? Like highly efficient, really consumer friendly transaction management. And there's so much, like what's really cool about the space is there's a lot of innovation happening, right? Whether that's top of funnel, middle of funnel, or bottom of funnel. And I don't know where the next great product's going to come from, but what I do know is that we want to be able to integrate with it, right?
Yeah. What is and your top funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel? Andrew from Real Scout, he's got a name. Tofu.
Oh yeah.
Mofu.
Yep. Yeah.
He's using the language all the time while you guys are right there. And so, what are some people right now that agents listening right now can learn from, like you're talking to agents across the country.
Yeah.
Every week you're talking to agents. Hey, what are some of them doing to win
Yeah.
at a ridiculous level that's maybe innovative ahead of some of their peers?
Yeah, I'd say that a couple pieces, and then one or two related to NAR. I'd say the first piece is like an appreciation of your online presence, and the fact that your website, if built out the right way and structured appropriately, becomes a sustainable competitive advantage, right? It's not just about standing up a flashy homepage and piping IDX feeds to it, but if you come work with us, we've got folks on staff and partners that help you build out a site that gets you ranked higher, that communicates value better.
How's that work? Like, if I'm thinking about my site, and some of the folks that you're working with that are really got a great site that are winning, are they driving that discussion? How does it work to get that site elevated?
Yeah, so out of the box, our sites have been built to succeed both in SEO and PPC, largely because of the DNA of our business. Ben Pesco, our founder, was obsessive about that, right? And so you don't need to customize your site or build it out in a crazy way in order to generate results. But I think where our teams are starting to win is, yes, that's a great foundation, but a lot of these teams operate across multiple MLSs, multiple regions.
True.
And you need to be able to communicate expertise in every single one of those regions in order to generate the long tail of leads, right? So if you have folks that are thinking about that are Googling school districts in Spokane, Washington, like, you should be the agent that shows up for that Google search. The only way to do that is to build out a page, which can be done pretty easily, that speaks to that consumer. And so it takes a little bit of time on the agent and team leads part, but we have folks internally at Sierra and partners that effectively will help you do this for you. What question am I answering right now?
Yeah, I mean, just like because agents are, man, I want my site to basically, everyone's looking to get organic leads. To your point, going back to the content and all of that, you got to have great content to generate organic. But agents will focus on the design of a site a little bit too often. And my point was, how do you get that elevated experience, really make a site unique that solves that problem for the agent, where maybe it looks pretty a lot of nonsense, but it's just working for them.
Yeah. It's a combination of, so that homepage is important, but I think the branding is more important in like the luxury market than it is anywhere else. Right?
Yeah.
And branding isn't like Ben Black's a customer, right? He really cares about branding, right? We're working with him.
Shout out to Ben. I love what Ben's doing.
And that makes sense given the market he's in. But for most agents, that branding is not nearly as important as structuring your data, your pages, and your knowledge in a way that captures what we call the long tail of leads, which is folks Googling things that are related to buying or selling a house, but aren't saying, I'm looking to sell my house in 123 Main Street. Right?
Ben's got great content. He's integrating that, I'm sure, into his site.
Yeah, Ben's obviously like ahead of his time in a lot of ways. And he's been a good thought partner and is constantly providing me feedback, which I need, or a product feedback. And I think the balance we always are trying to strike is how do we produce products and experiences that meet the needs of most, if not all, of our customers, while at the same time creating special experiences for people like a Ben or someone else who has like a very unique need. But getting back to what teams are doing to win, we talked about the website. I'd say I think there's been a reorientation around seller leads and listings and what needs to happen in order to generate more of them, right? And this all comes back to database farming, right? Like a lot of our customers have 10, 15, 20, 25,000 leads that have largely been ignored, right? And agents haven't been coached around or comped around farming the database. And so it's in order to effectively do that, you need to enrich the data. But then you need to create workflows and calls to action that create hand raisers, right? And so, Fellow is a really interesting product out there that we're building an integration with. They've nailed this problem, right? Revaluate's a really cool product that creates a likeliness to move score based on publicly available data. There are all these interesting tools out there that agents need to be thinking about to be able to not only enrich the data, but then score leads to focus agents on the highest priority stuff. Because what you don't want your agent to do, it's unfair to them and it's not good for your business, is to just call down a list of 50 randomly selected leads, right? How do you create a priority stack of those leads based on data that then gives them a likelihood to succeed that's higher than what you currently have in place today?
Love that. There's a lot in there to unpack.
Yeah,
sure.
there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot.
For obviously, listen, there's a lot that's going into what you're building at Sierra. So if anybody has, further interest, there's going to be a link below to take a look and obviously do all of that. I want to maybe finish with the, or I got two things maybe I want to finish with, but just recently, and this is a competitor of yours that we both have a lot of respect for. We've had this conversation off.
Yeah.
Great people over there, but everybody knows the story. There was a CRM IDX company that had a hack.
Yeah.
Came in, it shut a lot of business down for a number of days. Should that be a wake-up call for the industry and for agents to say, geez, I really don't own any of this software that I license.
Yeah.
So I don't have control necessarily of a hack like this. How can an agent feel more? Now, I'm not saying an agent, listeners, should go build their own CRM. That'd be a clunky mess and a disaster and be very expensive and all of that. But is there a way agents can protect themselves? I've seen on forums like, I'm going to download my data every single week.
Yeah, that's not the answer though.
That's so manual, right? There's got to be a better way. Shouldn't our data already be saved for us?
Yeah.
How should agents be thinking about not getting in that position in the future? Or is it just an unlucky nature where just don't hit the wrong lotto? Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a lot to say on this, and I'm glad you brought it up. I'd say the first thing I'd say is I wouldn't wish what happened to them on anyone, right? Like, this is a really unfortunate situation that I have some empathy for, right? Like, every software platform goes through some issues. This is a big, tough one. And fortunately, it seems like they've emerged from it, but not without some damage done. The second thing is, and my CTO would berate me if I didn't say this, is no system is impenetrable, but there's a lot you can do to make yourself nearly impenetrable, right? And I think one of the beauties of us being now more professionalized and part of Alpine Software Group is a software private equity firm like that takes security insanely seriously because they have LP investor money that they've invested in Sierra. And any sort of data breach or elongated downtime like that meaningfully harms the investment. And so we have a chief information security officer at ASG. We have a CTO, and I have my own CTO. He actually came from Stripe. He's a rock star. He's dealt with massive systems of data and financial data, which is even more sensitive than what we're dealing with. But ultimately, and we actually published not only a blog article, but other things within our software experience to shine light on all that we have in place and all that we continue to do on this front to give folks comfort.
Okay, let's link that. Let's get that and link that.
I can
below.
link that blog post. Yeah. And what agents should not do is download their data every week. Hey, like, if you don't have faith in the security of your software, then you should think about leaving.
Yeah.
And if the questions you have aren't answered in a way that give you comfort, then that's a red flag. And so we multiple times a day back up every single piece of data in every single customer's database, right? And so does that leave like a little bit of room for data loss? Yeah, but only this much. And then there are so many systems, like we've got Cloudflare implemented. We have all these other kind of, I'd call them like shields erected that protect us while at the same time we're continuously backing up the data, which I think what we've published has gone over really well with customers. What I would also say is, like, this is an ongoing thing that we lose sleep over all the time, because the minute your vigilance on this front goes down is when something bad
It's at
can
a
or
top.
should
It's at a
happen.
top priority.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a, in times of stability, it feels like a cost burden and a boring subject, but events like what happened the last couple of weeks just shine light on how mission critical really, really good security and systems are for the sanctity of our customers' businesses. 'Cause when you think about a CRM or a lead database, that's the lifeblood.
Oh, it's the heartbeat. I mean,
it's the lifeblood
listen,
of a real estate team.
So many team leaders that went through the experience, like, you know, the website being down hurts because you've got lead gen pumping to it and you're trying to shut some of those levers off and all of that, but not being able to access the clients and send messaging out, you know, it's not good. So but you're saying don't go back to, I was going to go back to pen and paper. Don't go back.
Don't do that.
Notepads.
No. Ask the hard. You have every right to ask
Paper
the hard
calendars?
questions of your software provider, right?
I was going to get rid of the iPad and the you know, just do everything on.
No more
long
computers
form.
at your on your team.
Let's go back to typewriters. Anything you want to wrap up with that you're passionate about right now? You want to.
No, I think that well, one thing I'd say is I think a lot of the media coverage of this industry over the last 6 months has been like fundamentally unfair. I think that the real estate agent is underappreciated, and I think what these plaintiff lawyers have done and what the media has done on the backs of it has mischaracterized the value that agents provide to this economy. Right? When you think about, like, this is the single biggest financial decision or transaction in anyone's life.
Yeah, and the messaging has been so far away from that.
And doing that alone is only going to lead to lawsuits, bad decisions by consumers, not because they aren't capable, but because they should have a domain expert by their side advising them.
You're a software guy, and the plaintiff, the attorney, you know, says software will just solve for that.
It's ridiculous, right? Like, we're an agent, we're in the agent enablement business, not in the agent replacement business. Agents aren't going away. Buyer agency is a durable, valuable service. Hey, do I think that there are some agents out there that are hobbyists and maybe don't take this career that seriously and don't do all that well by their customers? Yes, I think that's true in this industry and others, but I think it's especially true here. I think what this is going to do is professionalize the industry in a way that's going to enable the career-minded and serious folks in this industry to win. And that's going to be good for the agent, and that's going to be good for the consumer, right? Yeah. And so, you know, I think that there's a lot of panic out there. We're trying to work with our customers through this. We're trying to develop software in response to this that's going to help them take advantage of it. But I think the net effect will be, hey, agent count will go down. Maybe barriers to entry will go up. But that's going to be a good thing for the industry. And that's going to leave a lot more business out there for the folks who really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And the folks who really know what they're doing are the ones that we want to be working with consumers, because they're going to give the best advice and they're going to represent them the best.
Yeah,
right?
the demand for shelter is never going away.
No,
so
it's not. And the pent up demand is insane right now. Right. And rates probably aren't going too far down anytime soon, but people are still going to keep moving.
Yeah. And life happens.
And I think what's been fascinating is, maybe we're over time, but I'm going to hit one last point, is Washington State is a really good case study on what is likely going to happen. And commissions haven't really changed at all. Because in a world where it's more of a free market, what happens is the service that's being provided finds what its fair value is. And it's been proven in Washington that its fair value is basically basically where it's been set by NAR. And so removing that co-broke mechanic from the MLS, I think, is more optics, and that what happens going forward is buyer agents are still going to be paid for the valuable service they're providing. It's just the path to getting there might change a little bit.
Yeah,
right.
100%. Be thankful that you're in a country where people really appreciate service, and that's what we have. That's a great way to wrap. Peter Maglathlin.
You got it right. Yeah.
Remember the name. That way, when you bump into Peter, you will be able to pronounce it. But remember the name, because I think you're going to hear a lot more from Peter and of Peter and certainly from Sierra. And there's an opportunity to check that out, obviously, down below. But I just really appreciate your insights, what you've shared with the community here today. And I'm sure we'll do this again, Peter. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Love what you guys are doing.
Awesome.
At BAMX, we listen to what real estate professionals want and need. That's why our platform is filled with sought-after courses, content, and tactical assets for your business. And that's why we launched BAMX in a box with templates and scripts done for you, delivered each Friday. The best part? It's not coming from panel pontificators who bought their followers and don't sell any real estate. It's coming from top agents, team leaders, and content creators in the industry. It's education that actually shows you how to do what you need in today's market. And now it includes editable templates and scripts so you can easily deliver that knowledge to your database. Every day, we continue to add more content into BAMX, into our private Facebook community, content that works, content that our members have exclusive access to daily. Do not wait any longer. Use code Byron and join the thousands of agents taking their business to the next level today. Code Byron for 10% off. I'll see you in BAMX.